would ever look back and say, that was my mistake. But we did see a touchdown. We saw some more volume, and we saw some trust in an offense where you know that Diggs and Thielen are going to get the other team's top cover guys. Your thoughts on Treadwell moving forward?
I cannot endorse any Laquan. First of all, I think there's a chance Laquan Treadwell might be on the waiver wire this week in the actual
leaving
NFL.
Minnesota.
You that kind of stuff. The interception that we saw late in the game there ended up not, necessarily hurting them. They got the ball back. The defense was able to get a stop. They're able to go down and score. But immediately then we see Stacy Coley in the game, and even he's getting fed. So, I mean, Kirk Cousins, that's the beautiful thing about him, is he's not necessarily dialed in on just Diggs. He's not necessarily just dialed in on Thielen, although I saw plenty of calls for that yesterday. Just throw it to those two guys. He's going to throw it to the open man, and if that's Treadwell who's in the game because he's a first-round pick and that's why he's on the team, or if it's Stacy Coley because Treadwell stinks, then that's where he's going to go. I'm all in with you on Dan Bailey. I think second most accurate kicker in NFL history, potentially coming indoors. If he ends up being the guy, which I think we're assuming that he will be, that's a fantastic ad if you're in a league with kickers. My question is this, and this isn't even fantasy related, but it is related to that game. And I threw this out on Twitter yesterday. I want to get your take on it. If you are the Vikings and you have championship aspirations, you believe you have a team that's capable of going to the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl, how are you counting on a rookie kicker? Why are you drafting a kicker? Would they pick him in round 5?
Yeah.
Why are you using a 5th-round draft pick on a kicker and then essentially handing him the job? They cut Kai Forbath with 2 weeks left in training camp. And, let's not say Kai Forbath is the second coming of Jason Elam or something like that. But he made a couple big kicks in that Saints game last year, especially in the fourth quarter. They cut him. They roll with the rookie kicker who, once they get rid of the competition, is iffy the rest of training camp. Costs them a win yesterday in Green Bay. You can't roll with a rookie kicker. Now, we can get to the Cleveland Zane Gonzalez conversation if you want. But if you're a team like the Vikings and you want to win a championship, you cannot have a rookie kicker, period.
No, I'm with you 100%. And it caught a lot of us off guard when they made that pick. And I think for Spielman and that whole crew, there's a little egg on their face right now because they're in a really tough spot. If you stay with this guy and he continues to cost your team wins, then you really look bad. And if you cut him and you waste a 5th-round draft pick, knowing that your line already has so many question marks on the offensive side of the ball, you certainly are going to draw the ire of fans, and you're going to draw a lot of questions from the people that cover this team. So I'm with you 100%. We're taping this show on a Monday, so we don't have any official steam on the Dan Bailey move for the Vikings. To me, it's the only move you make. The agent and Bailey have said they've been getting calls from multiple teams already in the first week and a half of the season, but Bailey has said no time and time again because he wants to go to the right fit for him. Translation, he wants the right money, and he wants a team that can win.
And he wants to be inside in November and December.
Yep, the Vikings have that for him just like he had in Dallas. It's a perfect scenario to go get him. And if I'm the Vikings, you admit your mistake, you make the move, and you move forward. You've got not only the fan base to answer to, but you've got the other 51 guys in that room. And that cost them a game against their arch rivals that they 100%, after the missed call, and it was a brutal call, as much as I hate the Packers, that call on the sack, or not even the sack, after Cousins released that interception on that last drive was one of the worst calls I've ever seen. But that's the world we live in now in the NFL. You can't touch the quarterback. Bottom line is the kicker cost on the game. Go get Dan Bailey.
Now, what I'll say, too, with that is, and I said this when I was watching the game yesterday, they're marching down the field in overtime on the second drive, and they get to about a minute left or so, and I think they still had a couple timeouts, and all of a sudden, they run the ball a couple times with Latavius Murray. They have success with it, 5-6 yards a chunk, and now it's, let's run the play clock down.
And Green Bay's defense is exhausting.
I mean, get up to the line, hand the ball off again, and just grind that thing down to the point where if you are counting on the rookie kicker, he now has a chip shot, and a 35-yarder, let's be honest, should be a chip shot for an NFL kicker. But why even risk it? I mean, obviously you're not throwing the ball in that scenario, but if you're getting 5, 6, 7 yards a crack, just get up there and run the same play over and over again. You've got a timeout, and then when you need to, stop the clock. And a guy like Latavius Murray, a veteran presence, you hope he's not, loosey-goosey with the football. You trust him, and you'll win the game. You can't count on your rookie kicker who's already missed 2 kicks, and neither of them, frankly, were close. I mean, they look like me coming off the tee box, at Hudson.
It was
Golf
a slice.
Club.
There was definitely a slice to those kicks.
They're not close. And again, it all comes back to, if you're the Cleveland Browns, I get it. You want to go invest in a young kicker you believe in. You're going to be terrible. You're going to go through stuff like this. Fine. That's great. But if you're the Minnesota Vikings and you want to win a championship, it's inexcusable to roll with a rookie kicker. And after this week, it's absolutely inexcusable. Go get Dan Bailey. And if you're in fantasy and you have a kicker, go get him too, because I'm with you. I think it's a done deal.
I do too. We'll see how it plays out here later in the week. Let's talk about a couple of the surprises in fantasy. We'll get to some waiver wire gems for you for this week, and then we'll segue into wild hockey here in the final part of the program. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been one of the biggest surprises out there from a team perspective, but more importantly from a fantasy perspective. Jameis Winston on suspension, waiting in the wings, who figured to be
holding a clipboard. You'd be holding a clipboard in a couple weeks.
Fitzmagic. This guy can't be stopped. They go into New Orleans. Then they beat the Super Bowl champions. And Fitzbeard continues to be a fantasy gem.
And speaking of gem, and he's a real gem in real life. The MVP of the day yesterday.
Yep.
Wasn't on the field. It was off the field in the post-game press conference. Did you see
that outfit? Was spectacular.
That outfit.
I thought it was Conor McGregor. I was on the Twitter machine doing my thing, watching the late game, and Brandon's nodding his head here. I thought when I just glanced at TV, I'm like, why is Conor McGregor at the big sombrero in Tampa Bay? What the hell is going on around here? Seriously.
You know what we need to do is, as we continue this show here, we need to get Brandon that outfit, because he's got the
beard, he's got the hair
going thing here.
He's got the look.
He could have showed up today in that outfit and pulled it off.
It was awesome.
But for me, that was. But hey, you know what? When you've started the year with a couple 400-yard passing games,
but Dan, here
and your Fitzbeard, you can do whatever you want.
And here's
who saw that coming?
No one saw it coming. He's on in all 3 of my leagues. He's sitting there on the waiver wire, and I think people have some trepidation now, because they know the big name and the star player that Jameis Winston supposedly is. But if I'm Tampa Bay, there's no way in hell I'm taking this guy out of there. And if I've got Fitzpatrick on the waiver wire, I'm going to get him this week 100%. If you see him out there in your season long, go get him right now. You have to have him, right?
I can't believe I'm going to actually have to put in a waiver wire claim on Ryan Fitzpatrick this
week. You have to.
And I came out of the draft in the league I truly care about. I came out of the draft with Jimmy Garoppolo, who I was very excited about, and Matthew Stafford. I spent a total of $3 of my $200 budget on those 2 quarterbacks. Stafford lays a complete egg week 1. I jump off the Stafford train at the worst possible time, because he goes out and has 300-plus yards, 4 touchdowns, and I'm on the Tyrod Taylor bandwagon, who stinks. He's terrible. And I had Ryan Fitzpatrick waiting there for me off that week 1 monstrous game, and I said, there's no way.
Eagles are a legit defense. He can't do it again.
And, in the Saints, we thought the Saints were going to be a legit defense.
And they might be.
But they're not right now. And Fitzpatrick is out there. Do I put in a waiver claim? No. We'll go with Tyrod Taylor.
Oh, no.
That was a mistake.
Now, let me say...
But you're right. I'm gonna have to put legitimate FOB budget on Ryan Fitzpatrick this week, and it's depressing.
If you had to pick one matchup, and don't look at the schedule, I've got it in front of me. If you had to pick one matchup, one time where you plug him in and think, this guy's going to carry me to a guaranteed victory, what would that matchup be in the top of your head?
For Fitzmagic?
Yeah, for next week.
Oh, man.
You won't believe how this sets up. It's the perfect scenario. It's on a tee. Speaking of golf, they're putting this waiver wire pickup on a tee and saying, come get me. Home on Monday night.
I was going to say, it's not Buffalo because they're here.
To the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, boy.
Home on Monday night to a defense that just allowed a quarterback that started 3 games in the league to throw for 6 touchdown passes. Run, don't walk. Get the Fitzbeard. Get Fitzpatrick on your roster. If Winston comes, fine. We get burned. But you're going to get at least a couple of weeks of a top 5 fantasy quarterback. Hell, he might be the top quarterback next week. And if you've got any receivers in that lineup that you can go get, whether it's a Mike Evans who you'll have to pay for, or even a Deshaun Jackson, who I went and got last week on the waiver wire and like a moron didn't start this week because I was all over Quincy frickin' Enunwa. Now, I didn't get beat, but I should have got beat off that horrible take. But you want those Tampa receivers right now, including their tight end, O.J. Howard.
The only part of this Tampa Bay resurgence that's really depressing to me, and you were
the running game.
You were very big on this guy. You were instrumental in me drafting this guy because I was panicking at my draft. Was Peyton Barber, and you're not the only one. There was some definite steam on him, especially in late draft leagues, and he's been terrible. He has been absolutely brutal. They got him. I think they got him a reception. That's supposed to be kind of his forte.
16 rushes, 22 yards yesterday.
I mean, that is abysmal.
Oh.
And had I not invested significant funds in him, he'd be on the waiver wire this week because I've started him 2 weeks in a row, and he's burned me. Now, week 1, I escaped. This week, not so much. We haven't even gotten to I have to tell you the guys I was playing later. I've already told you a couple. It's unbelievable. I might lose by 80 points this week.
When you're going to lose big. I hate losing those games by like 1 point. They drive you bananas. You know, maybe your kicker missed a field goal. Maybe you had a guy that had a touchdown called back or a big catch called back in PPR. So if I'm going to get beat, I'd rather get beat the way you're getting beat, like a drum. And give us some of the players you were going against.
Pat Mahomes.
Oof.
Yeah, that was not good. Stephon Diggs. Juju Smith-Schuster. Matt Breida.
Oh, Christ.
I mean, he's
not even a good player.
You know, I got the benefit of going against Ricky Seals Jr. and his 3.7 points. Adam Thielen, not enough for me in the big league this week. I am currently down 60 points. I do have the Bears defense tonight, so I
Good luck.
might get that down to 40, but he also has Chris Carson. It's an ugly week for me. I'm elite in this league. I'm in a championship mix every year, and we can certainly follow this along as the season goes along. Kevin, I'm telling you right now, unequivocally, 11-26 on Monday following week 2, this team is not a playoff team. My team I'm talking about. I'm terrible. And
that's why in season
I am
long,
in panic mode right now.
You attack with trades, and here come our waiver wire gems for the week. I've already talked about O.J. Howard, tight end, Tampa Bay. We've both talked about Fitzpatrick, the quarterback for Tampa, with the amazing matchup. Couple other players that caught my eye, and again, these are players that are for sure out there, no doubt in my mind, unless you're in some kind of a 14 or 16 team league. Most leagues are 10 or 12 teams. The leagues I'm in are all 12 teamers. Tavon Austin, who did nothing week 1. Cowboys, as we know, kind of retooled their whole receiving core. Their offense starts and finishes with feed Zeke. Teams know that. They're putting 8 in the box. They're daring Dak Prescott to throw the ball. And in fact, the week leading up to Giants-Cowboys this week, a couple members of that Giants secondary said, no, we will not let Elliott beat us. We're going to challenge Dak Prescott to beat us over the top. And Prescott had one thing to say, challenge accepted, and he backed it up. The Tavon Austin touchdown early was a 64-yard bomb where they got those corners to creep in. Elliott was set up for the run. They sent Austin deep. And Tavon Austin's not a guy that's going to get you 8, 10, 12 targets a week, Dan. What I like about this guy, the quick strike power deep. He gets you those long touchdowns. What do you think of him as a waiver wire gem?
Well, and he also presents some opportunities in the return game if you're into that. What I like about Tavon Austin is in a lot of leagues, I know in ESPN, he is 2-position eligible. You can use him as a wide receiver. You can deploy him as a running back. So he gives you that added bit of roster flexibility if you are in a league like that. The one thing that would concern me with Tavon Austin is, and we'll see it perhaps this week, is if Dallas ends up fishing in the wide receiver pool with a guy like Josh Gordon. And we'll have to see how that kind of shakes out today, whether Cleveland releases him, whether they're able to find a trade partner. I would expect Dallas may be in that Josh Gordon mix. So we'd have to see how that changes, Tavon Austin, the kind of opportunities he get. But you're right. He's not going to be a guy that's going to be a high-volume target. He's going to have to make the most out of 5, 6, 7 touches a game. And with that kind of explosive playmaking ability and his speed, he can certainly do that. And he's not going to cost a ton. You'll be able to go in the waiver wire. If you have a fob, you'll get them for a couple bucks.
And that's what we're going to try to do on our podcast. Exactly. We're going to try to give you some players that aren't going to break the bank. Let's talk about an offense in Jacksonville that really impressed me yesterday. We knew Leonard Fournette was likely not going to play. So T.J. Yeldon was the hot pickup last week. And against New England, you figured they were going to try to grind it out, keep Tom Brady off the field, use the running game, not really trusting Blake Bortles. And to Jacksonville's credit, they flipped the script. They were aggressive. They got Bortles involved early. Bortles brought his A game, and he's always been one of those completely hit-or-miss type of quarterbacks, but he hit yesterday which leads me to one of their receivers, and it's Keenan Cole. The guy had a breakout game, 7 catches, $116, had that one-handed